Welcome everybody to another episode of Hit Hit Sports. I'm your host, Brian Parker, along with my co-host, Mr. Randall Hargrove. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, doing good.
Good. Well, look, we've got 20 episodes in the books.
Wow. Wow. That's consistency right there, man.
That's the wrong for the first season. So, and we've had a heck of a season to look back on. Of course, we are down to one last game. But for a lot of people, they're already looking at next season. There are 30 other teams that are definitely looking towards next season. And really some good reason. There wasn't a game this past week because there's always a break in between. Normally there's a Pro Bowl that goes on and those kind of things. And everybody's interviewing players and old players, old coaches, everybody that's got an opinion. They grab them during the week leading up to the final game on press row and bring them in and speak to them. And while they're not doing that physically, they still have been doing it virtually and stuff like that. So we can pretty much adapt to the fact that they're not walking, at the actual site and doing those kind of things because they can still be able to grab them probably a lot easier just digitally and, doing stuff on podcasts and sportscasts and things like that. But anyway, there's always some news. As of last week, we were talking about Matthew Stafford and the Detroit Lions deciding to go their separate ways.
Wow.
And yeah, that was just last week where that was kind of more of a hypothetical. Where is he going to go? Who's going to get him? What are the terms going to be and those kind of things. So we come back this week and we got an answer.
Interesting piece of information on that one right there.
Yeah.
Did you know?
Do tell.
Carolina was that close to having Stafford.
Okay.
They literally had him. Carolina was willing to give up the number 8 overall for this year, next year's number 1, and a 2 or 3 down the line. Carolina was the front runner for that. Stafford was okay with it. So out of nowhere, the Rams jumped in front of Carolina with their deal, which was basically about the same, but they offered golf. And we didn't have a golf to offer. So, of course.
We got Will Greer. What are you talking about? Okay.
Yeah. So, of course, Detroit rolled with that deal. But I just found it real interesting how close we came to having Stafford.
Well, you know what that tells me though, Rand? The whether they got him or not, it tells me this. They're making moves. How many off seasons have we seen where they kind of let everybody else do everything, and then they wait until some ungodly time, and then they pick up, some defensive lineman from Atlanta, or they go get some guard from somewhere, and he's been around for a while, so getting a little long in the tooth. The fact that they're not afraid to say, "Hey," see that what that really tells me. And I've had my qualms with Tepper. He want to win.
Hell yeah, he does. No doubt about that.
He come from winning, and he want to bring that down here. He don't want us to be okay with winning the division. He want to win.
He wants to win, no doubt, and he's willing to use his own resources in order to get us there too. That's a good thing about him as well.
Yeah, Jerry wasn't gonna do that. Jerry, Jerry wasn't gonna no. Or you had to be this walk the straight line kind of guy. You couldn't have any kind of, I ain't saying we had to keep Greg Hardy or nothing like that, but I mean, my God, Jerry was just kind of, he was kind of hard. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful he brought the franchise to Carolina. Forever grateful. Oh, yeah. But I'm equally grateful that he don't have it anymore.
Yeah, the Panthers owner, I mean, guy's a multi-millionaire. So he brought that winning culture from Pittsburgh. He wants to implement it here.
Yeah.
So he's got some very aggressive-minded thinking folks working under him now. Scott Fitterer from the Seattle Seahawks, very aggressive GM that's going to go after deals, the best deals. He's already said he wants to be involved in every single deal that there's going to be for a quarterback. They want Carolina's name mentioned in that pot. And we're seeing it already with their pursuit of Stafford, with us also being at the top of the food chain still with this Deshaun Watson stuff. So they're very forward-minded thinking folks, very aggressive folks, on down to the head coach. He's the same way. So once you got three dudes on the same page like that, it usually spells for some success down the road.
Yeah, it really does, because for a lot of fans in Carolina, you just always knew that, you know, they weren't really going to be aggressive about stuff like that. They were just going, either somebody had to fall in your lap, or you had to have such a bad season that you got such a good draft pick. But, you know, hopefully what they're seeing is that one draft pick ain't going to change your franchise like that. I mean, they may give it a nice addition. I mean, Cam Newton did for a while. He kind of did, but until people figured out how to play him. Christian McCaffrey did till they figured out that Carolina was just going to give him the ball 97% of the time. You know, same thing with Steve Smith. They just double team him, you know. So you can't just have that one piece. You got to have a balanced attack. You got to have it on both sides of the ball, but you also have to be aggressive. Free agents got to know that, oh man, Carolina's looking at me. They got to have that feeling like, oh wow, yeah, I'll go play for Carolina. Matt Rule, that's a hell of a coach down there. Man, that owner down there, man, Tepper, man, that's a cool dude. He wants to win. You know, you got to get free agents. You got to want free agents, but free agents got to want to come here too.
That's right.
You know, it's got to be that kind of market.
I'm just so glad to see that the culture is changing here, all around sports. You know, if you want to,
yeah, they gonna say that even with those Hornets.
The Hornets. What about, you know, what the Hornets doing, man? I mean, now all of a sudden we are a organization here that we got some NBA folks that are looking this way because of LaMelo Ball, and he's only been here since we started playing ball in December. But still, the future's bright for the Hornets. I think the future is just as bright for Carolina under this new ownership.
Yeah.
Like I've already said, willing to think outside of the box. He's bringing in analytics along with some coaches that understand analytics. You know, the NFL is, you know, heading towards that direction of analytics, so we can't just strictly rely on them. They are important in today's game. So he's a very forward-thinking owner, also a very forward-thinking GM, a very aggressive coach that we have in Rule. Like I said, you get these guys all on the same page, and they appear to be. Carolina's headed in some fresh new waters, and it'd be a refreshing change for a while.
Definitely, definitely. So now that we've got Stafford knowing where he's going to go, now everything kind of bounces. Not that it fully turned away, but now it goes right back to Deshaun Watson again. The sweepstakes for him. But before we get to Deshaun, though, so tell me, because I've heard the debate both ways, who got the better out of this deal? Because the Rams gave up a lot.
They did
a lot to get a 32-year-old quarterback. They are, in my opinion, believing that they are this close, and Stafford puts them over the hump, and they're trying to win now.
Right. You're exactly right. Once you see a team go out and do that and give up all those draft picks for a 33-year-old quarterback who's never really gone any place in the playoffs, they are thinking that Goff was the only reason that we have not won a Super Bowl. We have the defense here. We have some offensive weapons. Our quarterback position has never had us an ability to win the Super Bowl. I know they got there against New England, but they only scored 10 points. So
Right.
I'm sure they're thinking that as well when they are looking at a Matthew Stafford deal. They got to be thinking that.
Do you think it was Goff?
Goff was so hot and cold for me. I mean, he give you 2 good games and then he give up a stinker. He showed some regression this year. Last year he was hot. So I think a little bit it was Goff. Now those offensive weapons, I think that they could have had a better receiving core, which would have helped them. They found themselves a Sam Akers. That's really helped them, but they didn't really come across him until the last quarter of the regular season.
Yeah.
Who knows what would they had if they would have just gave him the ball from the get-go. But I do think it's a little bit of Goff. So maybe they are right in that respect by getting Stafford and seeing how far he could take them. Only time will tell.
I mean, this is another thing where I see, a Tom Brady kind of situation where you're walking in and, you got Akers, you got Cooper Kupp, you got Robert Woods, you got Everett, you got Higbee. So you've got some weapons to throw the ball to. You got some pass catching tight ends. You got some receivers that will sit there and make you look stupid if you play too close. But then if you give them too much room, then they're going to cut on the inside and expose you. So, yeah, and Stafford, he has an arm. He's not the most mobile guy, but he can step up. He can step to the side,
Yeah.
But if you give him time, to let him fly that ball, though, yeah, it's a done deal. I just wonder though, if was it more to it than that? I certainly hope it didn't have anything to do with, Goff and him having eyeballs on McVay's girl, but anything like that.
Yeah, I hate to think it was something to do with that. But
because if that is true, then yeah, you'd be gone quick. I'd almost take Jameis Winston to get rid of you if you done said that. And then that's bad.
There was a sports writer I was checking out earlier today that kind of went in. Said that Goff lacked the work ethic, he lacked the football IQ, he lacked mobility, and lacked the leadership. This sports writer is, I think his last name is Gottlieb. If you ever heard of him, out west, I guess. But yeah, I was surprised to see that completely went in on Goff, and I wonder how much of that.
Not Doug Gottlieb.
That's him. Yeah.
A basketball player.
Yeah, Mr. Gottlieb.
Oh, okay.
In on Goff, man. Tore him a new a-hole.
Wow.
Not a leader, lacked football IQ, no mobility, lacked work ethic.
So okay. You see, that sounds, and I understand Doug isn't necessarily connected to the Rams, because Doug Gottlieb got a pass too, where he ain't necessarily was on the straight and narrow neither. But that sounds like something somebody says when they finally break up with somebody, because It was like, well, if he was that stupid, and I'm gonna say football IQ, like he ain't passed the Wonderlic or something. But if he was that bad, why y'all give him all that money?
Yeah.
Why'd y'all pay him?
That's the thing. This guy,
you mean to tell me it took y'all that long to figure out he was stupid and he couldn't lead the team?
Yeah, and that's how you got to take this thing with a grain of salt from him, because it's not like he's, insider for the Rams or anything.
Yeah,
like that.
He had some character issues himself coming out of college, which was years ago. So I ain't gonna bust his chops for that. We all grow, learn, and hell, Cam Newton had some issues back in college too. So did Jameis Winston, something partial to them crab legs, but But I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute, wait. You pretty much know, like I'm pretty sure, and I'm not trying to compare the two too close, But I'm sure the Kansas City Chiefs knew what Patrick Mahomes' IQ was before the end of his first season. I'm sure the Kansas City Chiefs knew his ability to lead a locker room before the end of the first season. You trying to tell me that before you don't pay a quarterback all that money, and those are questions that you have. Who does that?
But, again, who is this guy? He's
right. So, I ain't going to take what he said with a full grain, because that's why I'm having a harder time digesting those comments, because it's like, okay, if you were letting him play into his fourth and fifth year and you were reluctant to give him the money, and then it came out that it was because, we kind of wondering about his decision making at times. That's why I have an issue with the whole Carson Wentz thing too. Like, okay, when did he just start forgetting how to play football? Because you paid him a bunch of money. So obviously he had proven to you that he knew what the hell he was doing. Now all of a sudden you acting like, dude don't have a clue.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, they ain't paid Sam Darnold, and because there's questions. Now some of those questions is because he ain't had a stable coaching staff, but it's not like they went and paid him all the money and then figured out he was a bust. My whole thing is that he had a rookie contract. You saw enough from that to say, hey, let's pay him. So I'm just saying that just sounds kind of crazy. But it is what it is. But like I said, the Rams gave up a lot. Detroit was definitely in a rebuild mode. They see something in Goff, or they basically just took it so that they could get rid of Stafford. They may even cut him and continue their rebuilding process with even a younger quarterback, which still, like I said a couple of weeks ago, begs to mind. I believe they have what pick do they have now? They still have the 8th pick, right?
Well, Carolina has the 8th. I think Detroit is right ahead of them.
Yeah, 7. You're right. Yeah, Detroit's at 7. So Detroit picks 7. Do they still look for a quarterback? Do they say, okay, we've got Goff at least for this coming year, instead of giving him an extension, maybe we pick a quarterback? Do we pick a quarterback later as a backup? Do we keep Goff this year kind of to let him show us that maybe a change of scenery, because he does have a pretty friendly deal compared to what quarterbacks are getting. The cap is going to be reduced because of COVID. I'm sure if you cut him, you got some dead money that you got to deal with. So you almost have to kind of let him play. But maybe you don't use your number 7 pick now on a quarterback, or do you?
I don't think they do. It wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I think they would not had, taken that deal for Goff unless they had intentions to at least give him 2 years to prove himself. He's still a young quarterback. I don't know his age, but he can't be that old. He threw for only 20 touchdowns last year. I think 20-some touchdowns before that. So if I'm Detroit, I'm going to hitch my wagon to him for at least the next 2 years to see what he could do in our organization. And Detroit's got a new head coach. He seems to be pretty aggressive. He's out here talking about biting off kneecaps and whatnot. So I think there's some exciting things to come from Detroit here in the next few years, and I think Goff is going to be the one to kind of give that opportunity.
Well, you're right for a lot of reasons. Number one, Goff is 26. It's going to be funny though. It's going to be, when you say change of scenery, this is a kid that's from California, played ball for California Golden Bears, and then played for the Rams. So he's always been in California.
Been out there all his life, yeah.
It's cold in Detroit.
Yeah.
It's a little different. I mean, it ain't like you went from, the Rams to the 49ers.
Right.
So that's going to definitely be a change of scenery. He's going to have to get used to that. Secondly, Detroit if they play their hand right, who knows what's going to happen with Green Bay and A-Rod. You know, if that happens sooner than later, then there's going to be some turmoil and possibly a changing of the guard in the NFC North. Chicago definitely isn't in any position to do anything right now because, you know, the Trubisky or the Nick Foles show is still going on as far as I know. That's going to probably end up as a major car wreck at some point. So they actually do have a chance sooner than later, if they play their cards right, to actually be a contender in the NFC North. It can
Another
golf
draft picks now.
can golf get them there? I don't know.
Impressive about that. Now they got 2 number 1s to work with. So you asking me who got the better of that deal? I would lean Detroit. I would lean Detroit.
Too. I would too, because I'm not totally sold that I mean, they may acknowledge there's other things that they need to do on the team, but they went all in for Stafford. So you're going to be restricted now by a lot of things to how much more help you can get him, whether it's line help, whether it's some stuff more on the defense. I know you got the best defensive player in the league. He can't lock down but one side of the field. Well, arguably. He can be in a couple of places. But still, if he drops back, yeah, that's hell. If he comes after your quarterback, good night, Irene. So, he's that good. I give it to you. You can double team him and take him out of the game if the other side isn't worth that. You can double team him. That's allowed. So I don't know if they're planning on doing, okay, we got Stafford, but we're still going to do other things in this offseason. I think if they don't do other things and they make it just look like just by taking one quarterback out and putting another quarterback in, and that says a lot, because it also says a lot about the fact that, hey, y'all gave him some money, so he might not have a good football IQ, but y'all don't seem to have a good business one either. So, you know, it's like when you break up with a girl and you sitting there talking junk about it and talking about how she this and how she that, and they be like, well, wasn't you the one that got with her?
Right.
Ain't you kind of responsible too? It wasn't a one-way relationship, was it? She was your girl too, right? So, you know, you get in bed with them, then you own it. So we will see. But now that could presumably take Detroit out of the quarterback hunt. Problem still is that Jacksonville, if they don't, and I'm going to assume none of these teams get Deshaun Watson, and we know that one of them probably will. Jacksonville needs a quarterback. The Jets, we don't know what they're going to do. Houston, who knows what they're going to do with a quarterback. Atlanta, you definitely got to draft a quarterback. Matt Ryan is getting old.
Now definitely needs a quarterback. I think they'll definitely be drafting.
Yeah, since he's not going to go for it, they got Joe Burrow. He looks to be a stud. Philly looks like they've settled on Wentz because they got rid of the coach, and I can't see you going to get rid of the coach and get rid of Wentz. Good, but then you got Jalen Hurts. So I don't see them drafting a quarterback. So all of a sudden, if things don't work out with Watson, and if Watson goes to one of these teams that I just mentioned, now that does open, well, you know, you still got Trevor Lawrence out there. But tell me, if Jackson, so let's just play this if game real quick. If Jacksonville took Deshaun Watson, no, I'm sorry. I'm trying to think about it. So if Jacksonville agreed to draft Trevor Lawrence, and then trade to Houston and basically do that takes Trevor Lawrence off the board. If the Jets commit to Sam Darnold, then the next quarterback, is it Justin Fields? And does he go to Atlanta?
It's got to be either Fields or Zach Wilson.
So, but then if Fields goes to Atlanta, then the next quarterback would fall to Carolina.
Yeah, and that's just a great unknown right now. It's just we don't know.
I know there's a lot of moving pieces, but it's still possible that even if they don't get Watson and Watson goes to one of those teams, all that really does is it pushes Zach, Trevor, and Justin down more. And to me, it gives Carolina a fighting chance. Now, would I rather have Deshaun Watson knowing what he's been able to do? Absolutely. But you still get a young stud in one of these up-and-comers that you can put on a rookie-friendly deal that even if he can't start immediately, you still got good old Teddy that can patch the bridge, no pun intended, Bridgewater, but patch a bridge between the old guard and the new guard.
Yeah.
So I'm all right either way. I would rather have Deshaun though, because I know what he can do.
Yeah.
And people have to remember too that Deshaun has a no trade clause. So you can't just trade him. You gotta say, can we trade you?
Yeah. Can choose where he wants to go to.
I
kind of lean hard on the side that he is gone from Houston. I know there's some folks out there that believe that Houston can play hardball and say, well, we will sit you for a year. We're not going to trade you. I know there's things that they're put out into the press talking about they are not interested in a trade for Watson. But I mean, come on. Your organization, you're not going to turn down multiple draft picks, multiple first-round draft picks for a quarterback who's the leader of your team, the face of your team, who's upset. You're not going to do that. It's not a situation where like Pittsburgh had with Le'Veon Bell.
Right.
Even though he was a star running back for us, I mean, he was a freaking running back. He chose to be disgruntled, and Pittsburgh played hardball. We say we're going.
How did that work out for him? Because Kansas City going to the Super Bowl, but I ain't heard nothing about Le'Veon.
Yeah, I mean, he's buried on that depth chart. He'll possibly get a ring, but he ain't earned it. But that's another story. But for the situation in Pittsburgh, I mean, Pittsburgh played hardball with him. He said that he was going to sit for a full year. He ended up doing that. But, I mean, we had James Conner came in and filled in beautifully for him.
See, the problem is when you overplay your hand and then your replacement ends up being okay. Not that McCaffrey did that, but if he had done something like that and said, I'm only going to play 3 games this year on purpose, well, hell, your backup came in and did well too. And he's not McCaffrey, but he did well.
That's the thing. We're talking, running backs, but you can't really do that with a quarterback. Once your quarterback, who is your leader, your locker room leader, the one who all the guys are looking towards for leadership, the face of your franchise, says he's disgruntled and he wants out, there's pretty much nothing you could do except let that player go. What are you going to do? You're going to bring him back into the locker room and continue to deal with his pouting, continue to deal with his trade requests, not wanting to be here. If he's playing hardball, saying he ain't going out there to play, then you got a huge story in the press. It's going to be a distraction for 16 games. I just do not see him in any way, shape, or form going back to Houston to deal with any of that. They're going to trade him.
They almost have to. They almost have to.
Those draft picks.
I think, Rand, what they're doing is they're playing poker.
That's exactly what they're doing. It's posture.
Because if they start to lean into, we need to get rid of him, now you look like you're desperate. Right. And now you take the leverage away from people to say, hey, y'all just saw what Stafford demanded.
Yeah.
Come to us correct. But if it looks like you're looking to unload him, I'm not going to give you everything because you already showed me you willing to deal too early. So they tried. They that girl, she want to give it to you, but she going to play hard to get. But you're going to get it, though. But she wants you to make you feel like you earned it instead of that she just sat there and said, all right. That's all it is. That's all they do.
That's all it is.
They're going to end up like this. It's just how they get there. They know they're going to have to give it up. Because to your point, there's no way you can survive. And the other thing is this. That team is not, the way it's constructed, is not constructed to win. You're going to waste this kid's prime time years on a bad team. You already sat there and let your now gone coach get rid of his best weapon that he had shipped him out. Now your best defensive player has probably played his last snap. Be nice if he goes to Philly. I mean, Pittsburgh. That would be amazing.
That would be dope.
Play with his brothers. Oh God, the Watt line. That's just crazy. I would, oh God, I would love to see that. But anyway, so he's gone. You might as well just go ahead and rebuild. You're not going to win that division anytime soon the way that team is constructed. Let him go. Get some good value for your pieces. I'm sure they know that deep down inside. I think what they're choosing to present to the press and to other teams is, oh, no, we would never, because Deshaun is this. Deshaun is that dude that still works for the company, but when you go in his office the next time, you notice, what happened to all the pictures?
Yep. You know,
he already started to prepare. You know, one of my jobs, before I started leaving, I knew I was leaving, but maybe they didn't really know yet, and that's how they kind of figured out that maybe I might be leaving, because they kept coming to my office and started noticing that certain things were gone. And I'm like, man, I didn't realize how observant you guys were to even notice that they were missing. I was trying to do it on the slide tip, and I was taking stuff away too fast. And so I had to come up with. I was like, well, you know, I was thinking about painting the office, so I ain't want that sitting up. Oh, okay then. I had to get a little crafty with it, just so it wouldn't tip them off. But then once I announced I was leaving, I knew it. That you have been taking stuff out your office for 4 weeks.
Yeah,
like, yeah, a little bit.
From the moment that Deshaun came out and said that he was disgruntled there, and then that news leaked to the press that he really wasn't feeling the owner, that's irreparable.
It is.
You can't. You have to go ahead and move your separate ways. Right now, Houston is holding water in their hands, and they are doing a good job of holding it right now. But we know it is only a matter of time before their hands is dry.
And you can say all you want right now when the new NFL season hasn't started. But I would say in the next 6 weeks, they're going to be singing another song. Because you gotta appropriately put it in between when the new season starts, when the draft starts, because you don't want this to turn into a situation where you sit on your hands, you don't do anything, you let the draft play out, then training camp comes, then there's a holdout, and there are fines. Now you're dealing with the fact that if your player isn't available during training camp, he's not having time to get first team reps, all these other things, and then does it lead into the season and stuff like that. Sounds like the kid's ready to take it as far as you want to take it. You're trying to play chicken to see who's gonna blink first, and I don't think you're only gonna hurt yourself. You're hurting the team. You know he wants to go. He's already taken certain information off his social accounts where it doesn't even look like he is connected to you guys anymore. So, you know, it's like being in the marriage and it's been over for like 5 years and y'all still together for obligatory reasons, but both of y'all know it's over. I ain't speaking from it. I ain't speaking from experience. Maybe I am, but it does happen. You know, it does happen. I ain't saying me personally. I've been there, but yeah, it does happen. It's been a long time ago. But neither one of you just want to admit it. So it's going to end that way. So, any changes in your feelings about the Super Bowl? Who's going to win and all that good stuff?
I still think it's going to be a close game. I really do. But have you seen
the spread on this game?
I haven't.
The last thing I saw was Kansas City by 3.
I was kind of thinking it would be a 3-point game, but I think it's Tampa by 3. I don't know why I'm leaning that. Maybe it's because of the experience of Brady, the defense of Tampa, that 1-2 running back approach that they got. And I know Kansas City has weapons on the other side. I know that.
Yes,
but
if you limit the big hits, the big strikeability of Kansas City, then it keeps you in the game, because sometimes they veer away from that. If you can get a little bit of pressure on Mahomes, he works well under pressure.
Yeah,
but he ain't throwing like bombs to Tyreek Hill. He may be throwing dump off passes to Edwards-Helaire or Kelsey. But if you're going to I don't know what kind of game time coach Arians really is, where they prepare. They're good at preparing. Andy Reid, even from his days in Philadelphia, wasn't really necessarily known as that preparational coach. He's a player's coach for sure. They love him. But what I do know is that Tom Brady came from a team that had probably one of the greatest coaches that if you give him 2 weeks to figure out how to destroy you, he's going to do it. So you're not bringing Bill Belichick to your team, but you brought the second best thing, the guy that played with him for 20 years.
Yeah, that I don't know, and that offensive line against the Tampa defensive line just worries me to the point where I'm just leaning Tampa.
Yeah.
Mike Remmers is the tackle in Kansas City, and we all remember what happened to him. Oh my God!
He got blew up. Von Miller and them had a field day with him.
Woo,
oh God!
Oh my! He was just turnstile. He was just
I thought he was the invisible man, and they were just running through him. Poor Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Woo!
So you may see a repeat of that with that Tampa defensive front this Sunday, and if so, that's going to be huge because Mahomes under pressure is not something we've seen a lot of.
You're right, and if they start making you do stuff that you're not used to doing, that's what they did to Carolina. You're right with that whole Remmers thing. Is that Carolina was riding high? They taking pictures. They celebrating 5 minutes left in the game, and then Von Miller and Douville and them said, "Oh, for real?"
Yeah.
and they smacked them in the mouth early. And they were never the same for the whole game.
Yeah,
they were never the same.
That defensive front for the Broncos, they ate all 4 quarters, man.
What they did was they got to them early and often.
Yep.
And if your coach isn't one of those coaches that can say, all right, now let's do this. Or you got one of them coaches who's going to say, no, we're going to do what we're going to do. We're just going to do it better. So that's how a lot of coaches are. They so regimented and stuck in their ways that when they go into a game with a game plan, when they install that game plan on Tuesday, that's what you run on Sunday, whether you up by 14 or you down by 21. It don't matter.
Yep. And Rivera was that in Super Bowl 50. He really was because they made 0 halftime adjustments for that game.
Yeah. I've never understood the coaches that cannot adjust on the fly.
Right.
You gotta be, because yes, you may think it's a good game plan. You and your other coaches, y'all done talked about it. Y'all high-fiving each other in the film room. Oh yeah, we're gonna do this and this and this. Well, that other team game plans too. And if they figure out, hey, they might try this on us, and they figure out how to, make it not work the way you want it to, you gotta have a plan B, C, D, E. That's why you got that playbook. You might have to go deep into that playbook. But a lot of these coaches, they try to stick to it because that's their comfort zone. Look, there ain't no more games after Sunday. You better use every play in that playbook if you have to, because the goal of the game is to win. There's not next week. It's Sunday, and that's it. So whatever you got to do, you need to be able to put it all out there. Don't sit there and get so stuck in your ways that if you see something not working, you're like, well, we'll just run power right. Now we run it power left.
Yeah, the matchups of this game are just fascinating to me. It's like, who can slow down Kelsey? That's the number one problem for Tampa. But they have some very athletic linebackers in David and my man.
Your ball?
Yeah. All of them.
JPP all day.
So they have some very athletic linebackers that could kind of stay with Kelsey, and I know that's said tongue in cheek because no one seems to, but maybe they could slow him down, and maybe
or get enough pressure on the front where they can even start to bat balls down. They're very good at that.
Yes.
Because they're so athletic, if they can't get to you, maybe they can alter the ball, even bat it down. And you know what happens with those tip balls a lot of times? I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there. There will be one tip ball that's going to be an interception from Patrick Mahomes. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
And
Because
the
the
other
way he
thing that
throws.
troubles me about Kansas City is they've really not been very impressive with the run game here lately either.
No,
So
no,
you
I
gotta
call
have
I call him Pittsburgh West.
yeah, yeah. It's been pretty much the Mahomes show for a while there.
Yeah.
Um, so we will see how it goes down. But again, some of the matchups are fascinating.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Well, that's going to be interesting. I'm still giving Tampa Bay the win. I don't know if it's going to be by 3, if it's going to be by a missed field goal from the other team and they win by 1. It's going to be an
Yeah,
overtime game. That could also happen. It's going to be interesting to see. I want to see what the weekend is going to do for this halftime show because word is that he said, hey, I want me such a good show that I'm going to take $7 million out my bank account and make this thing dope. So I want to see what $7 million of your own money in the Super Bowl brings you because that's crazy.
my man, he must be kin to Tepper.
I mean, seriously, they said, okay, yeah, you put on the show. And he said, well, okay, but I want to do this, this, this. Well, we ain't got the budget for that. That's okay. I got it. So he done
Yeah.
dished out $7 million of his own money to put on this show.
Let's see what that looks like.
I
Well,
want
you
to see
got
what $7 million get you in this day and age.
must
You
be a
know?
light show that's visible from the moon. And you gotta have
Well,
women
he's
shot out
a
of
little,
cannons.
he's a little weird, so it wouldn't
Yeah.
surprise me if he was standing on the moon doing this show. Now, I ain't gonna lie to you. Him and Elon Musk might have made a deal. Yeah, I can see him doing some. He's a different kind of cat, so God only knows. But I definitely want to see it. I'm still interested in seeing what this trimmed down version of halftime is going to be with the commercials and stuff like that too. I heard it's going to kind of be a little bit more toned down, and
Yeah.
some of the normal advertisers aren't even going to participate at all because
Right.
they're conscious about, hey, it doesn't make sense for us to spend all this money on 30-second ads when we've been taking a hit because of COVID
All year long.
all year long. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be the Super Bowl in the time of COVID, which is going to be a little bit different. So
Yeah.
we'll see how
All
that
that being
goes.
said, though, I'm extremely proud of the NFL for even getting us here. We're on schedule. We're on time. It was a very fun
Yes.
season. Didn't lose a whole lot of games. Didn't really lose any games at all. Just moved them
No.
around. Had
Yeah.
them on Wednesday night football.
I was
Thursday
going to
night
say
football,
to what
Tuesday
you
night.
said before, we had a football game every night for the first time ever, which is,
First
you
time ever.
know, which if you had a fantasy team, that might have been a little frustrating. But let's be honest. Who doesn't like to say that I was able to see NFL 7 days a week and it had
Love,
nothing to do with the NFL network showing old games?
loved it. But what was the alternative to that for the folks that didn't like that? What was the alternative? A
Right,
white.
right.
Hey, props to the NFL for getting us
Major
where we're
props.
at. Major props.
Because before the season started, all the prognosticators were like, okay, well, they're going to do it, but there's probably going to be such a big outbreak. They may have to pause the season for a couple of weeks and this and
Exactly.
that.
Like Major League Baseball. But there were no
Yeah,
pauses for the
yep,
NFL. Right on
yep.
schedule. So big time kudos, especially since you got to look at it was much harder than what the NBA did. The NBA had teams in a bubble, and they were able to finish out their season last year. This year, they're doing similar protocol to the NFL, but roster sizes, NBA, what are you talking, 20 folks?
Yeah.
That's a lot easier to maintain than a football team plus coaches. You're talking over 100 personnel there. So to keep these teams as clean as they have kept them without a COVID outbreak all year long and being on schedule with everything,
And no
outstanding
vaccine.
job by the NFL. Outstanding.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, look, before we wrap it up, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that, 2021's already been a tough year as far as losing some true legends and everything else. And now it's also Black History Month, and we've lost another legend. And when I used to think about some of the greatest African-American basketball coaches, period, There was a triumvirate for me, and that was John Thompson, Nolan Richardson, and John Chaney.
Mr. Chaney, yes, sir. Yeah, sad news.
Looked like a Temple Owl. Looked like an owl. But he was one of the most intimidating figures in basketball. Again, you knew when you played his teams, they were going to be scrappy, and they were going to, if you were going to beat them, you were going to leave earning it. You were going to earn it.
Yeah,
I love Mr. John Chaney.
Ask Coach Calipari.
Right? Yeah, he ain't back down from nobody. I love Coach Chaney. Oh my God. He was one of the ones, as much as I grew up being a Tar Heel fan, when I would see Coach Thompson and Coach Chaney, I'd be like, wow. Their stature was just huge. Now, Nolan Richardson took the cake for me because a black man being in Arkansas, talking about some 40 minutes of hell, and it didn't involve no crosses burning in your yard. That was amazing to me that you could command that. But all three of them, man, just legends. So, it'll never be the same, but we appreciate everything that all three of the coaches have done. And Coach Chaney earned his wings, and we are always going to be able to just go back and remember those Temple Owls back in the day and things that they did and what he was able to do with that program. So definitely want.
I'm glad you brought up, Black History Month, because we need to have a little chat about, some of the things that are occurring. We lost Coach Chaney, but we also lost, Hank Aaron, man. And that was
oh my God, yes.
The home run king, and the one who many of folks still acknowledge as the home run king.
Right.
Yeah, that was a major loss there. And talking about what this guy had to go through playing in Atlanta, down in the Deep South, when he's approaching the Yankees legend as far as eclipsing that home run record. There were many, many racist individuals out there that did not want to see that happen. And to persevere through all the death threats that he was getting, and end up to, breaking that record. Major props to Hank Aaron, man.
Well, and it's funny you say that, and I definitely am not going to turn into my head-to-head political show, but you're absolutely right, because, a lot of people today will say, well, I want sports to be separate from all these other things. Not understanding that has never happened for a lot of people. Sports and racism, sports and politics, sports and, world affairs have been intertwined for a long time. And to deny that reality is denying reality.
That's exactly right.
Because every day Hank Aaron wanted to just go out and play the sport that he loved. It came with a whole lot of other things. And he could have, and the easier thing for him to do would have just been to say, bump it. But we wouldn't have had Hank Aaron.
Right.
So we got to always keep that in mind, that as much as we are moving forward, you got to remember where you come from if you want to be better going forward.
That is exactly.
Always got to remember.
So it's just funny to me. I love the talk of Black History Month and intertwining that with sports. I do it every year. I am 50 years old, so I remember a lot of football history, man. I remember being a kid at 8 and 9 years of age, looking around the league and only seeing one or two black quarterbacks. They had Doug Williams, who was at that time in Tampa, with them creamsicle uniforms. And we also had, back in the late 70s, early 80s, my man for the Chicago Bears, and God, I can't believe I'm losing his name right now, but they were the only two black quarterbacks in the NFL. So to go from that day in time, Warren Moon was in the CFL too at that time, but to go from those days when so many teams still had that belief that black men did not possess the intelligence to run a team and to run that quarterbacking system. They didn't have the intelligence. They had the athleticism to where we could take them and switch them to wide receivers, but can't be quarterbacks. Quarterbacks have to be poised. Quarterbacks have to have high IQ, remain in the pocket, go through their progressions. Just to think that during my lifetime, that was really the mindset. That was really the mindset. And to look nowadays and see that these minority quarterbacks have taken over the game to where now every GM is looking for a quarterback with mobility and athleticism.
Yeah.
To look around the league now and see just the amount of African-American quarterbacks approaching about a good third of the league, if not close to half.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Incredible. It's been an incredible ride to see that, and I'm very proud of that.
Well, I think for a lot of them, they thought the whole run pass option was just going to be a gimmick like the Wildcat, and that surely all the NFL teams aren't going to look to start having a quarterback that if he doesn't see anything downfield, instead of just taking a sack and throwing the ball away, he just ran for 9 yards, So now you see a Deshaun Watson. You saw RG3 try to do his thing. You see all these other mobile guys. You see Lamar Jackson looking like a video game out there. You see the ability of these guys to be able to make decisions with their arms, but also be able to use their God-given talents. Use the entire quarterback, not just from his neck up or from his waist up, but be able to use his entire body as a weapon. Only made you a better team. And the thing about football that's different with a lot of other sports, a lot of times these players are behind this helmet. You don't really get to see the players up on the sidelines every now and then when they cut over to the players. So it was kind of easier, and it's not like you're at the court side and the players are right there in front of you. So it's a little bit different. So with football, you had to become personally connected to these guys. And a lot of times I didn't think these owners were comfortable having that be a dark face. But man, you're right. What has changed over the years gives us encouragement that those things will continue. And while we're always looking ahead to the future, always, just like my mom always told me, Dad always told me, boy, don't you forget where you came from.
Never.
Always remember where you came from, because if you want to do better than where you came from, remember it, so that will always push you further and further away from it. Not from being ashamed, but from the standpoint that you realize that there's something better out there for you and for society. So we appreciate that. Rand, appreciate you as always. Head to Head will be here next week because we got to recap the Super Bowl. This game will be on. Plus, we got to figure out what the weekend really going to do for this $7 million. I'm sorry.
We'll be talking about
almost the game has become secondary. I want to see what $7 million gets you. But anyway, we're going to end.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Vince Evans, Chicago Bears. Vince Evans.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to Google him, so I still couldn't find out.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. All right, y'all. We're going to wrap it up. We'll see y'all next week. We'll talk about that. Enjoy your Super Bowl. Make sure you maintain your social distancing. I know y'all want to have Super Bowl parties. Y'all better do that on Zoom or have only a few people in the house. Make sure you get some wings. And most importantly, wear a damn mask. Brian Parker, Randall Hargrove. We out. We'll see y'all next week. Peace out.